It says there's two people down here, but okay. Okay. Well, if you're here, let me know where you're from. Let me know. Um, give me your name and where you're from. That'd be kind of cool. Um, so welcome back to another chat. We're going to be going through some more RV stuff tonight, um, uh, based on questions I've gotten in the past. If you have any questions tonight about RVing or early retirement, let me know. But one of the questions I got a couple of days ago, and I said I would wait for the live chat to answer it because I figured, why not? Is what's our favorite state for snowbirding? And it's we've been to many states and we've been to a lot of different campgrounds, a lot of different styles. But we have pretty much decided that Florida is our favorite state for snowbirding. Gulf side Florida. We really like it over there. This is our first winter in 4 years that we haven't gone down. So we really like it over there. And there's so many really cool coastal communities to tour, and the people down there are really great. The campground that we're at is just absolutely amazing. So we really like it. We've had we've made so many friends down there, which is cool. And we still, we're talking to them today to see how things are going. And I know there's a big cold snap down there, so everyone's sort of warming up and stuff. Um, but it is pretty cool down there. We like it. We like it a lot. Um, but yeah. What was another one I got asked? I can't even remember now. Um, what was the one? Oh, what's licensing? Uh, I'm going to be putting out a video in the next probably week, and we're going to discuss licensing for RVers. And one of the um, big things that I think people need to seriously research, because it's different in every state and every province, is they got to figure out if they need a upgraded license or a trailer endorsement or something like that. You need to research the state or province that you are in. And honestly, I would do it way before you buy a rig, because you don't want to buy a great big 40-foot toy hauler and all of a sudden, someone says, "Oh, what, did you get that upgraded whatever license to tow this thing?" And you don't want to get stuck behind the eight ball with that. Definitely research your state and your province to figure it out. Like I said, I'll be putting out a video in the next week or so, and it's going to break out the steps I went through to get my license that I needed for my rig. And hopefully it'll provide advice for anybody that's considering buying a larger rig. You know what I mean? So I'll be putting that out in the next week or so. Here's a question: why did you why did you decide to retire so young? Okay, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I started a government job when I was 17, and I worked for 30 years, and I decided that 30 years was long enough. And I was able to retire at 48. My wife was able to retire at 48. Um, so we named the rig Freedom 48, and we started along this RVing path. Um, I truly, I know I joke sometimes and I say that, retirement's great, you should try it. And I know not everybody is in the same position to be able to retire as young as we did, or they may have a different job layout than what I had. But retiring young is honestly, I think, the best thing you can ever do. If I know it's easy to say, but make it the ultimate goal, and focus on it and just go for it. I mean, we decided to retire young. Um, it had, I guess, health concerns as well. We decided that, maybe we should do this RVing thing, and do this traveling and exploring, and living our best life, right now because we know we can, instead of waiting, 15 years or 20 years going, and sliding in with all the regrets and saying like, geez, I wish we would have done this or I wish we would have done that. I think it's a lot better to sit back and look at the photo albums and the tattoos maybe and say like, I can't believe that we did that. I think the memories that you're building now are amazing. And you just don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. You don't know if 20 years from now or 15 years, if you retire at 65, if you're going to be able to do this stuff. So that was one of the biggest reasons why we decided, like, let's just do this thing. So, um, how many trailers did you look at before deciding on yours? 250. 250-ish online, and then we looked at like 100. I could say easily 100 in person. Um, and that's the way to go, as far as I'm concerned. Is look at tons of pictures, kind of figure out what you're kind of looking at, like what you're kind of looking for based on what you think you want to do, and then actually go and walk through RVs, go to shows, walk through them, because as we all know, sometimes on the internet things don't look the way they really are in real life. So honestly, it's go to RV shows, go to dealerships, and actually walk through them. We looked at hundreds, and the more you see, the more you learn, and you can decide. Do I like the slide outs? Do I want do I want 5 slides? Do I want to have just one slide? Do I want to have a king size bed or a queen size bed, or you know I think a truck camper will be fine. And then you step in one and go, oh, I didn't realize it was this small. You know what I mean? You need to actually go and look. And like I said, we looked at hundreds of trailers. Um, and it was the biggest thing that for us, for the biggest decision was what style of RV to get, class A, class B, class C, fifth wheel, bumper pull trailer, toy hauler, not toy hauler, whatever. Deciding on the overall style that you need or what you want, what you think is going to work best for you, whether it's a fifth wheel or a class A, class B, that's the number one decision. Once you've decided we're getting a fifth wheel, then you can really start looking at the actual floor plans, and walk through them. You know what I mean? And then it takes away from the distraction of going to a dealership and you drive down the rows of class A's and the rows of class B's and the rows of class C's and all stuff. You can just go to that dealership and say, where are your fifth wheels? And just go and look at them because you've already decided a fifth wheel is what you want. Or where are your class A's because you've decided on a class A. That's it. That's what I would do. And that's what I did. That's what we did. So I think, excuse me, I think the biggest thing for us when it came down to the final decision, it was finding the rig that checked off as many boxes, checked off more boxes than any other rig. And once we found that, that's the one we bought. So make the list and check off those boxes. Um, do you think RV snap pads are worth the expense? Absolutely. I absolutely love RV snap pads. There's lots of videos out there on how to install them and all this kind of stuff. I'll tell you right now, I'll be very honest with you. When we bought ours, we had them shipped to us up in Ontario, and we had them in the truck, and we had the rig with us, and we stopped at a truck stop. And I wish I would have been able to film it, but it was just such a spur of the moment thing. It was like, okay, we had the truck, we had the trailer, we had the snap pads were in the in the back of the truck in a box, and we stopped for lunch, I think. And you know, my wife came out with a bottle of dish soap and said, we should just throw them on right now. And that's what we did in a truck stop parking lot. And honestly, it took 20 minutes total. Um, we rinsed off the landing gear to make sure it was clean, wiped them down real quick, put the soap on the snap pads and, snapped them on. And they all went on perfectly. And they've been on there for well, 4 years, and absolutely love them. When you get to a spot, I think that the like I use blocks, of course. Like everybody should use blocks under your stabilizers or your landing gear. Blocks of some kind, because the shorter your landing gear is, the less wiggle you get in your rig, the less wiggle. Now, having said that, a lot of times when you're just stopping for overnight, you don't want to pull all the blocks out and get everything on and all this kind of stuff, right? Having those snap pads on is absolutely amazing, because when you pull in, and if you just want to just, level the rig off real quick, when you put those legs down with that extra wide snap pad on there, it gives you such a big footprint. And if you're on gravel or dirt or grass, or even if you're on pavement, because there's some RV parks, we found a couple, I think, I want to say Texas, I'm not 100% sure, that you had to have something between your metal foot of your landing gear and their pavement in their park. There had to be a rubber thing, there had to be like a snap pad or a block or whatever. So having the snap pads that are made from 100% recycled tires, which is amazing, having those on there and having the big footprint is amazing. It gives you so much stability. It takes a lot of the shimmy out of the rig. I absolutely love it. And there's a snap pad. There's snap pads made, I think, for every RV out there. I really think there is. So definitely look at those. Look at those. Okay, who's this? Oh, Tammy. Oh, hey, how are you doing? Okay, so question from Tammy. Hey, Dave, tell me what you can look back on and say was your biggest lesson you learned by choosing full-time living, and what did you learn the hard way? Um, the biggest, okay, so my biggest lesson, I think myself, um, all-encompassing lessons, is the learning curve of changing your entire life from being normal, living in a house. You've got your car, you've got your friends, you've got your, you got your backyard, you got all your stuff. And all of a sudden you're getting rid and selling all of that stuff. And you're living in a trailer. I know some people probably make a joke like, if you don't go to school, you're going to be living in a van down by the river. Well, that's not a threat anymore. That's awesome, to be honest with you. So the biggest thing for me was the curve of it, was going from having a big house and cars and all this stuff to getting rid of all that stuff, moving into a fifth wheel, having your dually, and saying, okay, well, come the 1st of November, I'm leaving Canada and I'm heading across the border, and I'm heading to Florida, Texas, Mississippi, wherever. And you're driving there and you're setting up for 6 months, or you're going to go touring around for 6 months or whatever. The longer you stay, the cheaper it is. We've talked about that. Um, and then just the whole part of it, everything was new. Like everything was new. Driving that rig on the highway, learning routes. Yes, the U.S. and Canada are very similar in road rules and exits and conditions. I mean, some good, some bad. So we're lucky that way. But driving your entire house, your entire life down the highway, it's a level of stress that I wasn't prepared for. Our first trip going down south, white knuckle on the steering wheel, and not because I wasn't confident in um, the ability of the truck to tow the rig properly, and the maintenance level of the trailer, things like that. It was just like that constant thought of, holy cow, I'm driving everything that I own. So I think when it comes to that, um, the that's the biggest thing for me. Um, and um, and what did you learn the hard way? The hard way one, I think, for me was um, thinking I knew how big the truck and the trailer was together, and not really knowing how big it is together. My first trip down south, going down the highway, and it was like, when you're in a car, it's like, no, let's stop somewhere and get something to drink or get something to eat, or we need fuel. You just pull in wherever you want. You don't even give it a thought. It's like, oh, there's an exit with a restaurant, and you just go to it. Well, when you got your truck and your trailer, you're like, I'm just going to pull in. All of a sudden, you pull in, you're going, oh my God, I can't turn around in there. Oh, I can't fit in that parking lot. And all of a sudden, you're in the middle of an intersection and you have nowhere to go. And people are honking at you like, get that thing out of the way. You know what I mean? Because you didn't think of it. You just did not think that, or you forgot how big you really are. And I learned that the hard way, because I made some mistakes and I had to get myself out of them pretty quick. But yeah, that was the hardest lesson I learned was the constant remembering how actually big I am and how much planning ahead you got to do for everything, whether it's stopping for fuel, stopping for food, just finding a place to turn around. If you missed an exit, right? You got distracted, you missed an exit, and then you forgot, or sorry, you missed the exit, and now you're driving along going, okay, well, now I need to get off the highway, turn around, get back and make your way back. Like things like that. Can cause all kinds of issues as well. So you got the stress of navigation, even though we have all these great navigation tools. We got Garmin's and we got satellite, we got like Google Maps and stuff on our phones, and we should never get lost ever. But we miss intersections, we miss exits. So there is those things. There is those things for sure. Um, but yeah, that was probably one of my that's a learn the hard way. I think for sure. I think for sure. Sorry, I had to talk to my dog real quick. Anyway, yeah. So, and I think okay. So I'll do a dollar value hard lesson, an expensive lesson, for us, and I think the biggest expensive lesson that I learned was the solar system. What I thought it was going to be was not what it was. Uh, it works amazing. Like when it works amazing, and it's such a cool convenience to have, but it is a very expensive convenience to have. We had it installed. Myself, I did the design for it, and then I had an installer install it for me. Um, and we had thought that we were going to be doing a ton of boondocking, absolute ton of boondocking, thought for sure. And we had this vision of what we were going to be doing. We thought we were going to be out in Arizona in the desert and living off grid and doing all this stuff. And we really thought that's what we were going to be doing. And because that was what drew us into this RVing lifestyle, was just like the freedom to do this and the freedom to do that and go anywhere you want. And, I mean, it's 100% your choice and you can be self-sufficient and all this kind of stuff, because we've always kind of been like that in that kind of mindset of being self-sufficient, being prepared for stuff. So when we put the solar in, we were so excited about it. And later on, as we kept full timing and our travels evolved, and we kind of figured out, what type of RVer we are. You know, we weren't boondockers. It just wasn't a thing. And we so thought we were going to be. We really did. Um, but I think it was, we had done tons of, what do you want to call it? Not hardship camping or anything like that, but we had done our sleeping on the ground time, and living your life with a generator running outside and stuff like that. We had done that, and I think we kind of got past that. So we just decided that, you know, we like the conveniences. We like going to a full hookup park. We like having water, sewer, electrical, and having the solar it just didn't serve a purpose anymore. So that was a expensive lesson. I did a video about solar or not to solar on the channel. If you want to check that out, go ahead. But that was a hard one. That was an expensive one. It wasn't painful, but it was expensive. So I guess it was painful in the wallet. I guess would be a way to put it. But yeah, that was that was an expensive, hard lesson to learn for sure. Okay, what else? We got no other questions, so let me just see what I got on my list of questions. Where's my list of questions? Oh, okay. Why is boondocking stressful? Um, okay. So yeah, boondocking can be an amazing thing. I personally think that boondocking is amazing if you have a bunch of people. Maybe not a ton, but at least one other rig with you, I think makes it amazing. When you're by yourself and you're boondocking, it can be stressful in that your rig and everything you own, everything you have as a full timer, um, is out in the desert or out on public land or a BLM land or whatever. And especially when we were in Quartzsite and we were, driving around the different LTDAs and BLM lands and trying to figure out where we wanted to be to boondock, it really hit us that when we set that rig up in the desert, it's going to be out there by itself. If we want to go into town to go grocery shopping, the two of us, or go to a site, or I don't know, just whatever. We're just going somewhere with the truck. Our house is sitting out in the desert by itself. I mean, sure, it's got locks on it, it's got preventative stuff and alarms and all this kind of stuff, but ultimately, we're leaving our house in the desert unsupervised. You know what I mean? And I know people are like, well, your house is unsupervised when you leave it. Okay, but nobody can pull a truck up front and hook onto it and take it. You know what I mean? Let's be honest. So that and having to, monitor how much water you use and monitor how much water you're putting in your gray tanks and your black tanks, and timing out everything for, okay, we have to go do dumps on Friday, because if we don't do it on Friday, we're gonna not have any space left on Saturday. But then the dump station is closed Saturday at 2 o'clock, and it's not open until Monday, and just things like that. Like there's you have to everything is planned out more boondocking. Um, it's not like when you're at a full, a full hookup park when you can just live like you're in a house. You know what I mean? And I find if you're at a full hookup park too, there's a lot more supervisors around, I guess. A lot of people keeping their eyes open for you, and in a good way. You make friends, and if you're going out for the day, you can, I mean, if you're friends with your neighbor, you can tell them, hey, we're heading out for the day. We'll be back around 5. Let me know if anything happens, or give me a call if something's wrong with the rig or whatever. And you make those friends to look after your stuff for you. So not having any kind of neighborhood watch, I guess, community when you're boondocking, that could be stressful. That's probably the stressful part for me. Let's say, okay. All right, Hammy, have you found a place that you want to spend the majority of your time as snowbirds, or do you still want to tour around? Our first 2 years, our first 2 snowbird trips, we wanted to travel. We wanted to go everywhere. And it was more of like scouting to figure out where we wanted to really be. Um, we did find that traveling a lot hits the wallet hard. The more you move, the more it costs. You spend more on fuel, you spend more on um, camp fees for overnight stays and short stays. So, we learned very quickly that the longer you stay, the cheaper it is. But going along with that, the longer you stay, the more it kind of hits you that okay, well, we wanted to do this lifestyle to see the sights and go exploring and touring and all this kind of stuff. But now all of a sudden, we're driving, 4 days from, Canada to the southern states, and we're parking our rig and it's not moving for 6 months. And you kind of get into that whole the quandary of like, am I doing what I said I wanted to do, or am I, is it the bank account that's ruling my life? Well, your bank account has to rule your life. That's the way it is. But we found that if you just go to a park, and it depends on what your interests are. I know people that want to leave their house, go to go to the south, park their rig, grab their 47, you know, 4,761 favorite books, and go sit at the hot tub and read their books and enjoy the hot tub for 6 months. If that's your thing, then that's what you do. That's great. If you just want to go to a place where you can enjoy yourself, be warm, do some day trips with your truck, or go to the beach or whatever, that's great. I think for the most part, everyone will find their path. But me personally, you get to your site, you get all set up, and you're booked there for 6 months. I By about the second month, you're kind of chomping at the bit, where it's like, why don't we just pack up and take off for a month? Let's go to Louisiana for a month. Let's go to Mississippi for 2 weeks and then pop over to this place for 2 weeks, or let's do this, let's do that. But the coolest part about it is if you do get the itch to go, you can. You got wheels. Do what you want. Enjoy. I would recommend planning a bit, but I mean, it can be spontaneous if you want to. But it all depends on what you're into. I really like our winter park, and hopefully we'll be going back again. Sooner than later. So yeah, we'll be going back there, and we'll book it for 6 months, and and we'll see what I mean. We'll see how it goes after being away from it for a little while. So you know I think it's up to you. I really do. I mean, hey, I'm not gonna lie. I like everyone loves the pool and the hot tub and the friendships and the, happy hours and, stuff like that. So, you got to find what you love to do. We have friends that are, full timers that are, show dog people, and they have their show dogs, with them, and they travel around, the U.S. and Canada doing dog shows. That's part of their lifestyle in the wintertime. So I think that's pretty cool. I mean, it's all about your interests. I mean, if you're a car show person, like if you're a big car person, holy cow, there's endless car shows in in the US and Canada, like all summer long in Canada, car shows, every 10 kilometers. And the States, there's car shows every 10 miles. I mean? So, you can do that. So yeah, what's this one? Uh, what? Oh, I wish I knew how to make that a little bit bigger, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I can read that. What is your snowbird bucket list that you have experienced? That snowbird bucket list item that I have not yet experienced. Um, Holy cow, there's a lot. Uh, I wanted to do and it's not, I guess it's not a bucket list thing, but maybe it's like something I wanted to do more of. I wanted to do a lot more golfing when I was down in Florida, because they have amazing, golf courses. Um, but bucket list things, I think, for me is, going to different museums, different, military museums, aircraft museums, things like that in the States, because some of the military museums they have are just phenomenal. Seeing some of that stuff, and seeing more stuff like that. Um, you know, like there's obviously, um, plenty of things out there that I would like to do. Bucket list stuff. Yeah, I consider myself pretty fortunate. I've done, lots of cool things, and I've been to a lot of cool places. So, what I mean, we'll see. Maybe a bucket list thing will pop in, and I'll just it'll pop into my head and go, yeah, that'd be pretty cool. And I'll add it to my bucket list. Who knows? So we'll see. But yeah, what's this one? If you could visit one place in Canada with your RV, where would it be and why? Honestly, I've been to this place a ton of times in my life, but never with my RV. And I would love just to hook up my rig and head out to Prince Edward Island in Canada on the East Coast and have a spot to put my rig and have unlimited time to go touring, because every time I've always been out to the East Coast, it's always been when I was still working. So I had I had 5 days off or 6 days off, and that was it. Get out there, see the sights, visit some family. But it was always he had to count the days, a day to get out there, a few days on the island, a day to get home. And I would love to hook up my rig and take it to the island, park it somewhere, and just be able to say, I got a month to do whatever. And I think that'd be really, really cool. And it's not that far from where I am in Ontario. I think it's, you can do it in about 18 hours. So it's not that bad. So, I would love to do that with my rig. Um, and there's so many places that I've been, whether work or whatever, that I would love to go and see again. I think it'd be amazing to go to Newfoundland with on the east coast of Canada, there, Newfoundland, Labrador, with the rig. Because I figure, if tractor trailers can fit up there, I can fit up there. So I think that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, I would definitely like to do some more East Coast stuff and do an East Coast trip with the rig, because like I said, I've never done it. But yeah, come to PEI, yeah, for sure. We're gonna come to PEI. That's what I want to do. So there's a lot of cool things like that that I'd like to do. Um, and there's always, the best thing about wheels is, the wheels on the trailers turn just like the hair covered computer turns every once in a while. And, I think of things like, well, I could pick up a smaller trailer and just do all kinds of, you know, parking lot docking and small campgrounds and mooch docking, visit friends. One of the coolest things I read, and it was a friend of mine did it. He did it about 10 years ago, and he did a Facebook vacation. And I was like, what the hell is that? So he basically got on Facebook like 3 months ahead of when he wanted to do this trip. And he basically got on there, and he was a Harley rider. So he got on there and he said, hey, I'm traveling from, he was in Fredericton, New Brunswick, and he was traveling, he wanted to go all the way out to Wainwright, Alberta. And he basically said, I'm doing this trip on my bike, looking for places to stay. And he packed a bag and a tent and a sleeping bag and put it on his bike and just went. And he visited friends all the way across the country. If they had a spare room, he slept inside the house. If they didn't have a spare room, he set up a tent on their front yard and slept overnight. And it was just like, it was a really cool way to travel to start with, but a really wicked way to reconnect with friends and family that you don't normally get to see, or that you haven't seen in a really long time. I think that'd be a really cool thing to do. Now, doing that with our rig, I wouldn't want to try it. That's a lot of truck and a lot of trailer to try to say, hey, how long's your driveway? I think you need to plan that one out pretty good. But I think that'd be a really neat thing to do. I think that would be a bucket list kind of thing, like kind of trip where you could say, hey, Facebook, and just, and reconnect with people. I think that'd be really cool. I don't know. I think it'd be pretty neat. But anyway. Oh yeah. Oh, we're at 40 minutes. Okay, so I'm not going to keep this going too much longer. I'm trying to keep these under 45 minutes, and it'll be longer as we go. But I'm trying to keep them around 45 minutes. Um, and yeah, so I like doing this live stream stuff. It's kind of fun. I appreciate everybody popping in and asking the questions, and I'm gonna do them every Wednesday at 7 o'clock, and we'll see how it goes. So tune in whenever you want, and we'll talk to you a bit later on. All right, we'll talk to you later. Cheers.